Hello, dear Nicole.
Yeah.
I I called this space with you because I'm soon to be delivering an introduction to Rage Club for women and also a 5-week Rage Club series for women.
Yay.
Yes, and I I love so much how on fire you've been and you are for Rage Club. And so in this call I want to have a space where you can share about what you love about Rage Club and maybe a bit about how you've evolved through both participating in Rage Club and holding space for Rage Club, and also to let anything else come through about Rage Club with the purpose of making the benefits of Rage Club more available
Yeah.
to people, not only women.
Yeah.
So I hold space for women, but there are rage clubs happening all over the globe now, both in person and online for all beings. So Nicole, will you tell me what you love about Rage Club?
Yes. I love being in Rage Club spaces and watching people start to like come alive right in front of my face. Like some of them come in, often they come in looking scared and they're pale and maybe they're hunched and they're kind of their eyes are darting around and they're I can get that they're trying to figure out what the rules are so they follow them, so that this scary place called Rage Club, they're not going to get in trouble or something like that, especially when it's their first time, even sometimes when it's not their first time. And then within a period of time, they just start to look so different. They start to stand up, their eyes are shining, their chest is open, their heads are up, they've got their feet flat on the floor, and they're trying things that they've never done before. And then they come to me after. Sometimes it's after my Rage Club, sometimes it's after some being in a Rage Club with someone else, and they say things like, I thought I got it. I read it and it was like, yeah, this is for me. I need to go. And then I went and I was like, what am I doing here? And then I had this moment, and they'll describe these moments where all of the stuff that they were thought they were understanding, and that maybe they weren't understanding, suddenly goes like whoomp, and they're like, oh wow. And it changes everything. I can't get enough of those stories, and I don't think I will ever get tired. I certainly, in something like 4 years of being a Rage Club Spaceholder, have not got tired of just standing there or sitting here at my computer and just being like, wow, I'm alive for this. Like, this person just made my day, and then another person makes my day, and another person. It's just so delicious, and it what I get too from it is how fast and how consequential these changes I see in people are. I start to think, like, I mean, I'm a possibilitator, and my life is committed to creating possibility, and I see more and more people light up in Rage Club, and I'm more and more, I just think anything's possible, and that a bright future for humanity becomes that much more possible. Each person who experiences Rage Club and gets lit up by the experience of anger, not as bad or wrong, but anger as a neutral resource that has massive information and energy, for them to live in ways that weren't possible before they did Rage Club. Wow. I'm so glad you asked me that question.
I'm hearing you, and I'm sat here almost holding back the joy that I feel to hear you speak, also with so much aliveness. Like you speak with such so much life force, that my life force is just bubbling inside, and I just feel so much joy.
This is it.
Yeah.
This is me using it. I remember my life before Rage Club, and I remember being told in no uncertain terms by Anne-Chloé Destremaux, who, of course, is the originator of Rage Club and who trained me as a Rage Club Spaceholder. And the first time we ever met, just the two of us, she told me, you get it. Like, she didn't say it this way, but she's like, you get so many things, you have so much to say, you're so clear in your words, and you bring so much value to the world, and it's not working how it could be working because you don't have access to your anger. And I was like, a part of me was like, lady, you don't know who you're talking to, because I have way too much access to my anger, and this is the biggest problem, one of the biggest problems in my life. But I kind of, that part, I didn't answer with this part. I was somehow snapped into what she was saying, because she had really nailed it in terms of like this problem I had, that I had all this passion and I had all this clarity and distinction, and I cared so much, but somehow without being plugged in or tapped in or jacked in to something to do with anger, it didn't do what it just did with you. Like, it didn't contage to people. They would agree with their heads, and then they'd kind of be like, oh, but there's this. And that doesn't happen so much anymore.
I notice that there's still a flavor in me of anger being bad, and I want to capture somehow the power of anger as this force for aliveness, for clarity, for a bright future, as you spoke it earlier. Because I've had people say, well, why anger? And will you unfold that a bit more? Like, what changed when you got your anger back about how you were showing up in the world?
Yeah, and this is like, as I kind of mentally look back over this adventure I've been on, it's not so clear that, definitely the part where I was like, whoa, this is what she was talking about. I get it. I'm feeling it. I am using anger differently than I was before. It's harder to track how I really, because but I can give examples of how I use it really often. The difference between anger against and anger at, and this way that anger's used, and it sparks wars. It sparks little personal wars with people, debates, arguments. It sparks, and these are the beginning sparks of the wars on a grand scale where it's us versus them, and they're angry at us and they're angry at them, and we know how that goes. And yet to use anger so that it becomes clear that we are all on the same team. This is anger for humanity. This is anger for Gaia. This is anger to end war. And it's not anger to end war by proving that I'm right about how I approach anger. So it's like it pulls something out. It just cracks open this old way of relating with anger. And it does it really by experimenting, by empirical experiment, where each person, because I could talk to anyone who had not experienced Rage Club, and maybe they would end up kind of becoming convinced that it's a great idea to try it. Um, and but they I remember that's what Anne Chloe did with me that day in that call. And it still took me getting into a Rage Club and having my first experience doing a series of experiments before I really got it. And then, like I said, it still took a while, even as a Rage Club Spaceholder, for me to get more clear this distinction between anger against and anger for. Oh, and I'm like, did that do it? Will that help people to
Mm-hmm.
see this opening into this new territory? I hope so.
I'm in a Rage Club at the moment, giving feedback and coaching. And there's a woman in there, and in the first session, when other people were feeling anger, she would collapse and would feel sad and would cry, and had this quite strongly in her that this is so mean. Anger is so mean,
Yeah.
and I want to get away from it. And it unfolded, and in the second session, she went into one practice, which I was in there, and she again was resisting going into anger. And she said, I just feel like a little girl, and I don't like it. And she unfolded that was the experience that she had as a child, that her mother was really angry, and her response to it was to collapse and hide and just show only sadness. And then she went into another practice, which I wasn't in. I don't know what happened. And she came out on the other side, and she had this radiant aliveness and joy. And she said, I get it. Like this what you spoke about, this moment. She said, my anger is for my space. My
Yeah.
anger's for my space. And so no longer was she going into this thing of collapsing, but she realized that she can stand around other people who are, big and bold in their energy, and that her anger is for her space. And I just really loved witnessing that. And that's one example of how it can go.
Yeah, I think it's a great point that it can go different ways for different people, and it does go different ways. Like for some people that I talk to, they describe what was a turning point for them, and sometimes I hear something and I think, oh, it's similar to something I heard from someone else, but often it's different. it surprises me how different people's turning points are, and yet they have this, it's, there's similarities about them. And I've been writing something about conscious feelings work in a more general way the past few days, and something that's been showing up more clearly for me is that because of everyone's different experiences in childhood and throughout their lives, the the parts of their the parts of their box or their thought where their mindset, their worldview, that are especially resistant to, in this case, anger, are all different. And so it made starts to make more sense to me, and also bring me a lot of joy about, like, just keep trying things. I don't have to know how it needs to go, or I don't have to use the same experiments because they worked for those people. And so it's given me a lot more of a broad kind of, yeah, it's given more possibilities. And but it can be really, I'm so glad to hear that she went from being so collapsed to really getting that that was, her anger was for her space. And oh, there's so many people who have that, just a lot of fear about anger, and these moves that they make around people when their anger's happening, even when it's a space they signed up to be in. They knew it was going to be about anger, and there they are, and they know the rules are no hurting anyone, no hurting yourself, and they're still collapsing. I remember the first time I had that in one of my spaces, and I just thought, what do I do? And I I just kept experimenting, and they started to come around, like come slowly around, and start to do their experiments in their own lives too, and get more clear about that Rage Club isn't about getting more angry at people. It's not that. And it's not about managing and controlling their anger. It's so different than anything I'd ever encountered, that's for sure. And I'd encountered a lot.
I was getting this image when you were speaking of bef before being able to get to the gold of what your anger is for, being being alive, your life force, clarity, being on fire for your life, creating projects, having really clear distinctions about what you're available for and not available for. All this gold about what your anger is for, it first can take digging through the dirt.
Yeah.
Which is more about, well, what did you experience in your childhood with anger? What beliefs do you have? What are you scared will happen if you're angry, or if other people are angry around you? And what have you been suppressing? What have you been using your life force energy for to suppress? um, and first doing that work to then get to this incredible gold.
Mm.
And I mean, what I can say is it's completely worth it. It's been completely worth it for me. I'm so glad that I joined Rage Club. It was around 2 years ago that I joined my first Rage Club. And since then, I've transformed so much that I do things now that I just was so not available to me 2 years ago.
What are some examples?
Having this call with you, and
Mm.
being able to speak with clarity, hold the space, ask you questions while staying centered, grounded, present. I'm creating projects. Like I have a channel of things that I love, that I'm really turned on by, and I'm creating those projects. I'm birthing them into the world. I speak to groups. I speak to people with again clarity. I, I I make proposals. I'm making proposals to make um, a space more empowering. Let's say, like I've done that here in the house that I'm living in. It's a community house, and I make proposals about things to try that would lead to more connection and presence and intimacy. You know, creating a website, writing articles. All of this I did not do before, and I was so much in survival, so much in like my survival strategies of I can't do that. I'm so small. I'm quiet. I'm really terrified to dare to put myself out there. And so I've got to peel back these layers of survival strategy to birth more of my radiant being into the world, and then to just like play it full out, have an extraordinary time here.
Yeah.
I really have this clarity that every single being has that potential in them. And it was Anne Chloe Destremaux who spoke this in the recent trainings we were in. She said everyone wakes up with the same amount of energy in the morning, the same as Mother Teresa, the Dalai Lama, you, the woman that I was speaking to at the dollar store, who's amazing. Everyone has the same amount of energy, but what are you doing with it?
Mm.
And so a huge thing that I love about Rage Club is how anger becomes this force, like you said, to get to firstly I guess break out of the ways that you're suppressing your life force energy to survive in modern culture, to be civilized, to be polite, to be not crazy or whatever it is, to get that life force flowing again and having it available for to you right now for living your life.
As you say that, I have this thought. I haven't done an anger practice for I think probably something like a week, and I'm thinking I can even sense a little bit that kind of energetic, uh, like that there are cobwebs in my pipes, and that I would do well to, you know, lie down on my bed and grab my towel, set a timer for 3 minutes, and do 3 minutes of all out rage to clear out. It's like a emotional body hygiene, energetic body hygiene. Like it's like if I realized I hadn't taken a shower for a few days and I needed one. It's like being hungry, you know, for food or thirsty for water. Is I think I will do it when we are finished here.
Nicole, what are the cobwebs? Will you speak more to that?
Yeah, there's still the little tendrils of what I hold in. I can even feel my throat starting to open up, and they're the energetic consequences of when I when I somehow stop the energy from flowing and the words from flowing and the movements from flowing. And you know when you sometimes have the impulse to say something, and it starts to rise, and then you go no, and it's as if then it's like a layer of cobweb goes across. And after that happens a few times, I can go from being like kind of on the prow, on the edge, on the cutting kind of edge of my life, on my path to kind of and from here I do still have more clarity and more aliveness than I did. Like, I don't get back to what I used to go back to. Yeah, and yet it still can build up.
What does doing 3 minutes of anger on your bed do? How does it change how you're showing up? Why do you choose that over doing 3 minutes of meditation?
Mm. In 3 minutes of anger, all of my pipes, all of those places that have got cobwebs in them are blown out. It's like they're pressure washed. And as I do it, it also gives my physical body a workout. It gets my blood pumping, it gets my muscles moving, it also, my nervous system does something. This is, I wish some expert scientists would do a research project following people who started doing Rage Club and were doing things like 3 minutes 3 times a day for 3 months of full out anger, and like put nodes on them and measured things to see what really happens. My personal experience is that over the years, I upgraded my nervous system. In a short 3 minute time, it's like it it just infuses all of my bodies, my energetic body, my emotional body, my physical body, my mental body even gets cleared out with energy. And then also this information will come, because sometimes in the middle of the 3 minutes I'll realize, oh, I've been feeling angry about that and I want this. And then I'll have it, and I'll finish the 3 minutes, I'll let it integrate, and then I'll just be able to just move into action on things that I hadn't even noticed that I had something in me. I had something, under the plug, behind the cobwebs.
Will you give an example of what that could be? You do 3 minutes of anger, or something revealed itself, and then you go into action. What is an example?
Oh, I mean, the first example that comes to mind comes from several years ago. And it was when I had first made the commitment to do 3 minutes a day, 3 times a week for 3 months. And I was not planning it. Like, I didn't say I'm going to do it Monday, Wednesday, Friday at this time. I just was committed to doing it. So I was doing it as the days would go by. And there was one day where I I got ready for my day, and I did a few things, and I just was blah. And then I thought, oh, I haven't done my 3 minutes of anger for a couple of days. I don't really feel like doing it. Okay, I'm just gonna do it. I said I would, and I did it. And when I sat up afterward, I was, holy smokes. And I had things that I wanted to do that I'd forgotten about, that I'd forgotten that I wanted to do them. And then I also had not had the energy, so that I think if I had remembered about them, I would have been like, oh, I'm not really up for it. And I got up and I got to work, and I was it was not this, I wasn't pressuring myself to do the things. It was really coming from inside me. I wanted to do it. And that's happened so many more times over the years.
And what's an example of the thing you wanted to do?
Like write an article or call somebody, or even just like go grocery shopping. You know, I could be like, oh, I have a few things on my list and I'm going to need to get going. And I'd be like, wait, what? Now? I'll go now. I want to walk. I want to get outside. And it would be an adventure all of a sudden rather than a chore. Sometimes it's something that I've been avoiding, something that I've been like a little more challenging thing that I've been avoiding, like having a scary conversation. But my integrity comes in and my sense of dignity comes in. And I'm like, wow, if I this is my integrity's at stake. This relational space is, you know, the one with the person that I have been avoiding the conversation or asking for what I want or declaring something. it I just get into this like I don't have time to waste.
Mhm. I'm getting that my journey with anger and also yours and what I see in other people, it evolves and it evolves. And so for people that are new to conscious anger work, it can start off with really simple practices about being able to say no, stop, being able to have clear boundaries and your own sense of your space distinct from everybody else's, getting your voice back, getting your real voice back from
Yeah.
maybe the soft little girl hiding voice.
Yeah.
And then it keeps evolving. It hasn't stopped. It hasn't stopped for me. And then I see it becomes about what are you here for on earth? What are you really turned on by? What projects do you want to create? What's your mission?
Yeah.
And I love it. And I love hearing that you would be maybe a bit stagnant and retreating, and then you do these 3 minutes of anger, 3 minutes, not a whole hour
Yeah.
practice, 3 minutes of anger, and suddenly I'm alive again. I want to call this person. I'm going to the grocery store. I'm writing. That's legendary to me. That's possible for human beings.
Yeah.
And I noticed there's multiple things that I want to bring into this conversation as you're speaking, and I'm aware that I set a time frame for this call. So I want to check, Nicole, are you available to stay until the hour?
Yes.
Super. Okay. So one thing I want to speak to is about the nervous system,
Mm.
because I've met people who feel scared that if they do anger work, if they're angry, that it's going to damage their nervous system, and they don't want to push it or burn out. And from my experience, I didn't really have that so much. I've been very much this, I'm going for it.
Mm.
Like I'm going all the way. And I've never really burnt out. And I heard you say that you upgraded your nervous system or regenerated your nervous system. So will you speak more to that about how does that go? How is it that you can upgrade your nervous system through feeling anger?
I would say that I'm also one of the people who already had a certain level of resilience. And there's still clearly been an upgrade. And part of it was to set the foundation for the level of upgrade or the type of upgrade that my nervous system, like, that really made a difference. Rage Club and conscious anger work gave me the foundation to then do conscious fear work. And for me, it was the upgrade that's been really noticeable in my system has been to start to use my fear consciously, and to have it so that, like, similar to the pipes for anger and them being cleared out, how I experience it when it comes to fear is that there's more like knots of fear in my nervous system where I there's still, the knots are still like blocks, similar to how the cobwebs and the, all this stuff in my anger pipes, how I experienced that. When it came to letting my, like, making it possible for myself to be able to feel fear at 100% intensity of fear, then it's like the tendrils of my nervous system that had been kind of dry or dead or just atrophied, those came alive. So it might be for me that it was fear work that really leveled up my nervous system, but I couldn't have done the fear work without having done the anger work.
And why could you not have done fear work without doing anger work?
I mean, it's going to sound maybe like an oxymoron, but because I was too scared. I was too scared of anger. I was too scared of the intensity of feeling at such high levels of intensity that I needed first to do anger work so that I would would know that it's really mine. My feelings are mine, and I can use using my anger to be centered and to have my personal bubble of space, to be able to say stop or no. I don't want to do this. Mm. To have enough presence through having my anger and my skeleton, my sense of myself, so that then I could dare to let myself feel as scared as I really was, but let myself make the sounds, let myself really feel it. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I wouldn't have been able to do that without having that foundation in anger.
I love that you've brought this in about fear. And I love it because Rage Club is not only about feeling anger.
Yeah.
Whilst that's the main focus, the other, all feelings do surface in Rage Club. All four feelings: anger, sadness, fear, and joy. And particularly fear.
Yeah.
Because as you said, people feel scared to feel anger. And my experience too has been that through feeling anger and doing work with my anger, I created safety in my own body to feel big fear, to feel big grief, to feel joy. And also I created safety through being able to take care of myself.
Yes.
So through being able to be vulnerable and open my heart and let my feelings come through, and also emotions from the past, traumas from the past, I created the safety to be able to do that, because I can then take care of myself, my heart, my body, with the clarity of my anger.
Mm-hmm.
And I get that I wouldn't have been able to go to the certain places and certain depths if I hadn't done work with my anger. And I love also the, like, as my journey unfolded with conscious feelings, that I started to also love fear so much. And I still haven't been in a fear club, which is wild, and I really want to. uh and so I just love it. And I really I didn't get, until I had my first coaching session with Ankle Destramo 2 years ago, who's been spoken in this call multiple times. She's an incredible woman, and you said originator of Rage Club and many other things. She said your feelings, your emotions and feelings are the compass, the navigation compass for your life. And if you don't have them, how can you navigate? How do you know where to go, what to do, who to speak to, what your life is about, what you are even? So this past 2 year journey has been reawakening this compass. So now I can navigate my own, and I'm not navigate my life, and I'm not kind of, it's a work in progress, and there are more layers to this, but not doing the same thing that I used to do before, where I'd be looking outside of myself to someone else to tell me what to do with my life, or who I am, what to do with my physical body if I'm sick.
Yeah.
I've become empowered to be my own guide through my feelings. Anger, sadness, fear, joy, and it's incredible. and I've not experienced one person who has done this work who didn't have the same experiential clarity that they have for feelings, anger, sadness, fear, and joy, that give them energy and information.
Yeah.
And it's made life so much more enjoyable for me.
Yes.
I'm not kind of walking around with my head in the dark like I used to. Like,
yeah.
And I, so just weaving it back to the thing about the nervous system, that's when fear, okay, there's so much to talk about this, I realize, but the feeling of fear, present moment feeling of fear, can give you the information about when to go, when to put the brake, when to put the accelerator on, when to put the brake on, how fast or how slow, when to lay your physical body down. And so that's that, the fear is given the information of taking care of your bodies.
Yeah. Something that comes to mind is that when we were in Poland together for the 4 weeks of trainings, I don't think I've ever seen so many people with such fast reflexes, catching things that were falling, even things that weren't going to break. Like I remember uh, someone like threw a dishcloth to someone, and then they started to say, "Oh, sorry, I didn't wait till you were really looking," but the person just grabbed it out of the air. And I was like, the consequences of conscious feelings work.
Yes.
And just the level of intuition that starts to be more frequently available. it has consequences that are huge, and it has consequences that are subtle.
Wow, I get that there could be a lot to unfold about that. And but I wanted to speak about patriarchy, and I don't know if I will go there, but I want to speak about
Just did.
yeah, I just went there. One part of what was coming in was about radical responsibility. Okay, how so many pathways to go down,
Yeah.
how to choose with my anger.
What comes to me right
Oh,
away is authority. About what you were just saying about, what other people think, what other people want, what other people do, and going from being the person who's looking outward for information and possibility, like relying on other people, to becoming a person who, it's like, I use my anger to discover what I want and what I care about, and I use my fear to notice from my perspective, this is my life, and to bring my my locus of authority back to myself, so that even when I'm in a simple conversation, rather than waiting for you to initiate, to take the lead every time, according to some hierarchical patriarchal thoughtware that says, if this, then this, that the determining factor comes from inside of each person. I love being with people who have done conscious feelings work, and who have relocated their authority back inside themselves. And yeah, sometimes it goes back out. Sometimes I catch myself giving my authority to somebody else. Mm. But this is for me where something completely different from patriarchy starts. And then, yeah, there's so much to unfold from there. I caught
I
myself, want to tell you this little story. I caught myself going into a kind of anarchy territory where, and it's so different from having my authority and my integrity and using my feelings. It was, I got a little bit mentally hung up on, oh, if I have my own authority, I decide for me. And I'd taken it a little further than really this point where collaboration is part of the culture beyond patriarchy. And I was still doing this lone wolf thing. And I decided something, and I went ahead and I took some steps. And then I caught myself, and I thought, whoa, I I had my authority, but I didn't use my fear to check in about something with somebody. And so then I crossed a line into more anarchy than archiarchy, which is the word that I know we both use for this culture that comes after patriarchy and also after matriarchy. Here's where I start to feel scared. It's like, oh, there's just so much. And how to keep on a track that's, yeah, super useful for people.
I I love that you gave an example of how it can go to have your own authority. That I was I was not choosing, and you came in and you said this, which wasn't even on the menu of what I was offering. And that's how it goes in Rage Club. And I love that it's a place to experiment, to try things, because it's not school. There's no one on top, like you said. You can't do anything bad or wrong. And so you really get to try different ways of being. You really get to try saying the thing that you're angry about, make a mess, and have a team with you, and a team of space holders, and a team of people going on the journey with you to unfold and get coaching and feedback and goes and yes, and these like empowering forces that blow wind up your sails for you to evolve into the next part of your evolution, or my evolution. And yeah, it's really that. And I'm taking a stand for women getting out of patriarchy. I'm taking a stand for myself getting out of patriarchy. And I will be weaving that into, I mean, the Rage Club that I'm holding. I mean, going to any Rage Club, if you're accessing your anger, then that's already you taking steps out of patriarchy, because you're no longer being a follower. Yes.
I love it. I love what you're saying about, this Rage Club that you're about to start offering, and how I, I wish that I had an easy way of watching all of the recordings of my past Rage Clubs, because I was I've evolved so much as a human being, as a Rage Club space holder. My first Rage Clubs, I think they were probably a little bit more like school, that I was the teacher and the people were trying the experiments that I gave them to do. But the way that the Rage Clubs that I've held space for more recently have been so much more a circle. And it's like, yes, I initiated it. I said it would happen. I invited people. They said yes, and here we are, all conscious anger experimenters. What are we going to do? And yes, I was often going first with the experience that I had, and with my fear and my joy to be like, whoa, we get to create whatever like the space and the people in the space need. And there were times when I thought, this is crazy to do this next. And yet this is the impulse. This is what I want. My anger is like, I want to do this. And my fear is, okay, yeah, go. Are there any questions? Does anyone have anything before we go ahead? And I just think, wow, what's it going to look like in 5 more years? I look forward to finding out.
Mm-hmm. Me too. I noticed that when you spoke about doing 3 minutes of rage on your bed, I thought that you were going to propose it on this call. And I don't know if about just closing with 20 seconds of conscious anger, something like that as an example. Are you up for that?
Yes, I have my rage towel right here.
Fantastic. Okay, will you do 20 seconds of dragon speaking?
Ooh. Okay. Yeah. I would want to stand up.
Okay.
Is the camera pointed at me?
Yes. What, Nicole, What is your anger for?
My anger is for my clarity and my integrity and my dignity, and for my presence, and for my voice that has so much to say, that I am, oh, I feel angry that I would ever have kept it in and held it in. And I want also to set an example. My anger is for showing what can be done, showing other women what's possible, for use when it comes to using anger to show up, to declare that another world is possible, and that women have it in us to create that world together. And then the men can follow and the men can join, but we can go first because we have access to Gaia and to life. And when we use that access and we turn it into communication and action and projects, we can change the world. Yeah, my anger is for changing the world.
Hell yes. Thank you. Thank you for going.
Oh, thank you. Wow. It's the top of the hour. I could keep going.
Yes.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you for asking for this. Thank you for taking a stand, being a stand for Rage Club, especially for women, and for, yeah, just asking the questions that brought all of this energy and information swirling in my system. And I love it. I just love it. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Nicole, for being such a fierce and clear and radiant example of the power of conscious feelings work. I love being so alive with you. I'll bring the recording to a close.